Hi everyone, welcome back to a Christmas layout update. So I've got this Southern Railways N-Class mogul on the layout at a minute that I need to test and get rigged up, weathered, detailed, and good to go. So I'm just getting on the track and having a look at it. I've only just taken it out of the box, I think, at this point. I think it's from 2000, this release, so nearly 25-year-old Locomotive, and it's pretty good actually. It runs way smoother than I thought it was going to run. I thought it might be a split chassis model, like the old Bachmann ones that didn't have wiper pickups and picked up from the chassis, but it's definitely not. It's got wiper pickups, and I've had the base keeper plate off, and it is a traditional one. Apparently these have got like a really good German motor, so maybe that explains why it's running so well. I have given it a little bit of oil just to like a general service, but yeah, impressed with it so far. You can pick these up for like £50-60, which, considering the price of new locomotives today, that's quite good really, second hand. Some of the details are a bit chunky, but it's really not too bad. I think it holds up very well for that price. It's permanently coupled, Locomotive to tender. It's got this camming system, which is interesting, but no issues, and it all works fine. It's got an NEM socket on the tender, but none on the front. So I'm just going to glue a KD onto the front there, and that'll be fine. In terms of weathering this, I found some archive footage just to get references in terms of weathering. And there's some quite good, clear shots of these running shunting back in the day. So I think this was in the mid-60s, so yeah, I'm going to use some of these in terms of reference. But when I was watching this, some of the next clips that came up I thought were quite interesting, so I thought I'd keep them in here. This one's called of 3 engines banking a really heavy freight train up the Lickey Incline in Bromsgrove near Birmingham, and I'll put a link to this archive video in the description, so if you want to watch it you can, because it's pretty cool in terms of a reference. 2 engines banking another train up there as well. But you can see here from this shot of the 9F, like the quality and the detail of the footage is really high if you were interested in using some of these to get an idea about weathering your own locomotives. Admittedly, it's mainly mid to late 60s, so the locomotives and things are in a bit of a state by this point, but it's still very, very useful if that's your time period. Very atmospheric as well, even like in terms of the track detail and stuff. But anyway, back to the N-Class. I've got it on the weathering bench here. I've covered off the wheels and other bits that I don't want glossed, and I'm just glossing it with some Humbrol enamel varnish. I've got a window open next to me, so I'm not breathing this in. But the can's easier, I think, when it comes to glossing. You get a smoother coat, and it's saves you clogging up the airbrush every time with varnish. So that's all gone on quite nicely. It's a cold day, so I went and put this near my log burner for a couple of hours just so it all set, and this is the next day. So I filled up my airbrush with some Rail Match frame dirt from the pot, and then I've added a couple of drops of water just to thin it down, and I'm just going over all the wheels, the chassis, and other bits and bobs really. Usually I'd use this colour for the underframe and switch to like a grey-black for the top, but I liked how this looked so much I ended up literally using this one colour and then getting variation on it with weathering powders. So I just use this as a base. So I've gone over you can see the difference there where I've gone over the running plate. This already had coal in the tender, but I want to model this with quite a big, well-stacked coal load. So doesn't matter if I get paint on that, because I'll add some more over the top in a minute. Just doing the front as well. And then making sure I get around the pipe works going up to the dome there on the top. I got a new airbrush, I think, in the last couple of months, which was another cheap eBay one, for about £15, but it's working fine. while I was doing the N-Class, I got my Coronation Class Pacific on the bench as well. I just wanted to weather this one a bit more heavier than what it was before. Given that it's in an end of steam mid-60s livery, I thought it would be good to go a bit heavier on this one just to change it up, because I can always take it back if I want to. And I've dipped the brush in some isopropyl alcohol now, so I'm just taking a bit of muck off the smoke box number, the shed plate, and then the buffer beams as well. I love this bit, I always find it very satisfying. So given there's probably 10-15 years between these two releases, well, probably longer, I think, because the N-Class first came out in the mid-90s. The IVET version of the Pacific came out in something like 2015, I think it was. So a good 20 years between the two, but the N-Class really holds up. It looks good next to the Hornby model on the left. So yeah, there's loads of these around. Definitely recommend one. I know it doesn't fit my era, but I just tend to buy whatever I like and fancy, really, rather than whether it fits or not. So I've heaped the coal load up, and I'm just adding some PVA glue mixed with a bit of water and washing up liquid for that to set. The next job was, even though the tender and locomotive are quite close coupled with that camming system that it's got, there was still a bit of a void between the two. So I'm just adding a extended cab floor so when you're looking at the locomotive from above or on the side, there's no daylight, there's no gap basically. So this is just white card I've done this with. And I'll paint it black in a sec. I've cut the edges off it so the tender doesn't foul it as it goes round curves. So I've got a bit harsh on it there, but that's fine. Once it's painted black, as you can see there, it's barely noticeable. But it makes a nice visual difference, and it means my lovely Model U crew figures aren't going to go flying down and get sucked under the tender when it's running along. So the crew are in there now, they're looking good. Bit of glue spilled on the back there, but when that dries, I think that'll look like spilled water where the filling cap is, so that'll look quite nice, I think. So we're about done now. I just need to get this upstairs and let the glue dry on the tender, and we should be good to get it on the layout. So it's up there drying now. And as soon as I brought it up, I heard a familiar whistle. I managed to catch City of Wells 34092 on the East Lancs Railway on a Santa Special, so I'll let you watch this go past. Anyway, excitement over. Back to the layout. So I've got the N-Class Mogul up and running on the layout now, and yeah, it's looking cool. I like it. I've added 2 route indicators on the front, the white discs, and I've given those a wash of like a mucky brown acrylic paint just to tone them down a little bit. I might need to go over them one more time, just tone them down, but I think they look okay. They're just blue tacked on, so I can move them around. But they're a good option because the lamp brackets are quite chunky because it's an older model. So my Model U lamps don't fit on them that well. But the root discs are a more prototypical option anyway. You can see the extended cab floor there with the Model U figures on, which are looking good. I noticed it doesn't have cab windows actually as well, like the WD Austerity, which is interesting. It does on the front, but just not on the sides. So I've given the wheels a bit of a clean with isopropyl alcohol and a cotton bud. But the best way to get it running is just give it a blast up and down the track for a while. So I'm going to do that in a second, just let it run and burn off any crud that's still on the wheels. But it's still running really smoothly, even though the pickups must be a bit mucky. Just test it with a few Mark 1 coaches. Yeah, no issues at all. It seems like it's running pretty well. Anyway, but over Christmas I should have a chance to bring this down to the big layout, the original layout at my parents' house, and give it a real good thrashing around there. Just running it back now towards the storage yard. A bit of glue leaking through the tender there I need to mop up, but other than that, it's it's a bit of a bargain, this one. Definitely recommend one of these. Yeah, just do your research, make sure you don't get one of the split chassis ones from the 90s, and you should be good to go if you get a decent one. Anyway, next thing to worry about is, because my layout is on the floor, this little character likes to come and sit next to me when I'm at my desk working, and he has a very waggable tail that likes to frantically bash everything on the layout, so walls, fences, shrubs, people, chimney pots, it all goes flying. There's the offending article in action. No, it's not that bad. Occasionally he'll knock something, but very, very rarely. But the other day I saw him come downstairs with a huge bush and a bit of fence attached to his tail. So I needed to repair this bit of the layout. So previously this was all fenced, and I've replaced it with these Jarvis Scenics walls, which are like resin. And I've just glued them down and redone the bushes there. So they're rock solid now. So Merlin can tail whip the scenery all he likes, and it's not going to budge. There you go, my finger demonstrating it in action. So other than getting the N-Class up and running, I haven't really done much to the layout other than a few scenery tweaks to make it dog-proof. So yeah, jobs are good and really. So last thing to say is thank you everyone who's taken the time to watch the videos this year. I really, really appreciate it. And I'll leave you with this lovely clip of 92 Squadron running on the East Lancashire Railway the day before yesterday. So yeah, Merry Christmas everyone, thank you so much.